Okay, everybody can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, a little bit of an echo, Mark. Okay, good morning. We're gonna talk about, another facet of amateur radio. There's a lot of hams that actually like to do satellite contacts. They like to do the moon bounce, EME moon bounce. But what we're doing here, we're actually making contact with a moving object. The International Space Station, which is about 462 miles up, traveling at 17,500 miles an hour. Yeah, they're moving. And they don't always come over right over the top of us. Their angle changes at about a 22-degree each time they come make a pass. So they don't always make a pass over central part of the US. There is a way to track that, where you can actually go out and watch them coming right over the top. Well, another facet of that is be able to talk to the astronauts up there. As of about 2 years ago, NASA really pushed this. They made sure that all of the astronauts going to the space station have an amateur radio license. And on occasions, before, we got lucky that we had 2 or 3. Right now, all of the astronauts on the space station are hams. That's a rare occurrence. That doesn't mean they're all racing to run in there and jump on a radio. They do their normal day-to-day tasks and projects, but they do have downtime. And when they've got downtime, a lot of them go in there and get on the radio. It's not like going from your den to your hammer. They've actually got to go across 3 modules, which is not easy to do, to get where the hand gear is. They've moved it three or 4 different times for necessity of equipment they have. Right now, it resides in the Russian module. And they've got it nice and neat hooked to the wall with a laptop and a couple of radios. They've got an HT and a mobile unit hooked up and all mounted to the wall. And then they've got an apparatus that looks like part of a robot arm that they can actually put on, strap it on them like a backpack, run it down their arm and hold it like a handle and make contacts through their amateur radio while floating. They can actually do that with their arm. So that's kind of a neat feature. So what we'll do here is, this shot that you see here is a shot of Oklahoma City from the space station. That's what they see when they pass at night.
Wave.
I don't have a pointer, but you can point out, you can pick out certain spots on the map. Yeah. Interstate 40, 240. You kind of get an idea of what I'm shooting is right down over Oklahoma City. So you don't see Norman in that much down here.
There's the ESPN truck right there.
Yeah. But you can, that's what they see from space. That's the shot they get on a nice clear night when they fly over. So it's important that when you make contact with them, and I'll mention this a couple of times, tell them where you are. Because they're looking down from that when they're making contacts and they're saying, okay, I see you, as they go by. There's several frequencies that you want to put into a rig, an HT, when you're going to try to make contact. They've got a voice uplink. Now, what they do is they do like a crossband setup, crossband repeaters. you're familiar with crossband, they do a crossband setup where they've got one frequency uplink that's VHF, 144.490. And then they got a downlink of 145.800. And you can put that in your HT on both of them. That way you can do the transmit up and then you can hear the receive down when they make their contact back. They do have a packet link set up, which is kind of interesting. If you want to do packet, you still have it set up for packet. It's 145.825, and that's worldwide, same frequency. And they do it, it's at a 1200 baud rate packet setup, the old 1200 setup. And they still have that set up. UHF packet uplink and downlink, if you want to do it UHF, is 437.550. And this, you can get this off of the NASA website, the ISS. You want to get those frequencies. They have a repeater uplink. Now they actually set up about 2 years ago. They set up back about 4 years ago in 2020. They set up a repeater on the International Space Station. They brought that equipment up and set that up. It's 145.99 with a PL tone of 67. That's the uplink. Downlink is 437.800. And that's the repeater setup that they use. So if you want to talk to another ham through a repeater, hit the International Space Station repeater. It's clear. A lot of people use it and make contacts all over the place, VHF, through their repeater. That's what I call very tall tower.
Yeah.
Okay. The radios that they're using on the space station right now is a Kenwood 710 GA, that's 2 meter 440. It's on the Columbus module, what they call the Columbus module. Each section of modules they've got them kind of named. The Kenwood, the other one they've got is a D710E, if you're familiar with that model, the Kenwood. It's 2 meter 7 centimeter module. It's pronounced Zaveda service module. That's another one of their modules and all, like I said, all these are mounted to the wall, and they're set up to where they've got the rig mounted to the wall, and then they've got the front panel of that pulled off, and they just got stuck into the wall so they can see it. But
Or the floor or the ceiling, depending which way they're floating.
that's true. I mean, they don't actually have a floor or the ceiling. They have 4 sections in each module, and they can work those 4 sections. To them, there's no up, down, side, and side. But those radios, and I do understand they're on all the time. That they're just not necessarily there working, but they've got their normal day-to-day operations that they're doing. Now, one of the things, when you see them fly over, and I'll show you here in a minute, the programs the apps you can get on your phone, which work very well to tell you exactly when they're going to fly over your location. And you don't need a whole lot of sophisticated equipment to do it, really. I can tell you don't. The antennas they got up there, they've got a cluster of 4 antennas in one section on one module. And on the back of one module, as you can see here, they've got an array of antennas sticking down and aimed towards basically the earth on that section. The antenna arrays, they've got, as you can see, around the module. So they can make different contacts no matter where they are in the world and how they're at their position. And they from time to time, they'll shift their position slightly and angle depending on where they are in the world. And sometimes they have to move due to small meteors and particles and debris and stuff that might come at them. They have to adjust their height and stuff, and so they'll change their angle. Every now and then, they have to send out an astronaut to do some maintenance work on them and make sure that the module, that the antenna array is working. But sometimes they get hit with debris and it messes up an antenna, or it tears it loose, or they've got an upgrade that you're gonna make to an antenna, because sometimes those do wear out on that. And so while they're out there doing the normal project to fix, do maintenance on the outside, they make adjustments to those antennas. The call signs that they use for the International Space Station when you want to talk to them. The Russian one, and some of you have heard it before if you've been in amateur radio a long time, is RS0ISS. The USA here in North America and South America, they use NA1SS. European, they have 3 different ones, as you can see up there. I won't read those off. You can read those on that. That's what the European countries use to make contact with the International Space Station when they want to talk to them, and they do all around the world. Like I said, you can get this information off of the NASA website for the ISS. There's a lot of information you can get from them, and they update it constantly. They have been doing that now within the last year, which is a good thing. Software I was referring to, the apps I was referring to, if you're an Android user, ISS Detector is a great program. You can set that up. It's got a lot of features on it. It's free. I didn't leave out the iPhone folks. ISS Spotter is what you would get, and it's also free. And it is once you set it up and get comfortable with it, play with it, which you can do now, it will tell you the next when the next pass is, today, tomorrow, Monday. You want to do that, and it's not hard. Like I said, it's not hard to set that up and do the features on it. Once you bring it up, and then you can you can actually see a map of the world, and you can see. You probably can't see on my phone from your distance there, but there's a red dot that says where you are. And then it shows the International Space Station on it, and it shows their track around the world. And if you follow the track, which you can move the map and see it, and follow their track, it will tell you when they're going to make the next pass. You can see one that's over Canada, and then maybe the next pass is up in the Dakotas, and then the next pass, and then you start to figure every 90 minutes they make a pass around the world. Every 90 minutes, they get a lot of sunrise and sunset in one day.
And frequent flyer miles.
Yeah. So you figure that every 90 minutes they're making a pass, so you can figure about when. You calculate when they're going to come back around and get close to you. Now, it also has what they call a green circle around your dot where you are. It says in that range, you can hear them and you can try to make contact with them. Just remember that the angle's further out. If they're 22 degrees further this way or even further out, the angle's harder to try to get them. But you want to try, anytime in that circle, you could try it. The times that I've actually made contact with them, and I've done it 6 times now, they were right over me. So that's generally the best time to try to catch them. You recognize this lady here, you've probably seen her in the news. She's one of the astronauts that technically, they don't want to say that, stranded on the ISS recently when the Boeing Starliner couldn't bring them home. She is not a rookie astronaut. She has been doing this since 2000. She was on several of the space shuttles. She actually helped set up amateur radio equipment on the space station. She is an avid amateur radio operator. And sometimes, from time to time, you can hear her talking on there, people on the Earth, which is pretty cool. And right now, her and her partner, they are doing what they call maintenance update on the space station when they say that they're taking wires and cleaning up wires and changing wires and putting wire ties on it and making it look good and all that stuff. Plus, they're doing a few science projects, but she has a lot of downtime. She doesn't have all those day-to-day operations like the other astronauts do. So she spends a lot of time on the radio. And you can hear her, goes over, as she goes over, you can hear her talking to other hands. And she likes to do that. One of the ones that I actually make contact with is, Doug Wheelock, KF5BOC. He loves to talk amateur radio. He's a big hand. And he takes a lot of his downtime is actually to talk on the radio. That's what he likes to do. He likes to do all facets of amateur radio up there. One thing he's pushing for, and they've now got an antenna up there, but they don't have any equipment yet. It'd be interesting to see what they use. Is HF. They do not have an HF setup up there yet. It's all 2-meter 440 right now in packet. And they can't do SSTV, you know. But he's really pushing for them to get HF up there. And like I said, they have an antenna. They actually have it mounted now outside, but they don't have any gear yet. So I'm hoping he gets that passed with his superiors down there at NASA, that they can get HF up there. I don't know if that will affect their equipment on the station or not. They're working on the details on that. But I do have a way to send them an email and stuff and keep up with them to find out where they are on that. He's not currently on the station. He is rotating around where he will be going back up there the first of next year. When they in February, when they do a rotation again, he's hoping to get to go back up there. But this time he's hoping to take some more equipment with him. Now, I will tell you that hams of all ages actually make contact with the International Space Station, so you can't say it's hard. It's not, really. This is Isabella Payne. She's 8 years old. She's from England. That's her dad. He was her control operator back on August the 2nd at 22. She was 8 at the time. She made contact and is now officially the youngest person to make contact with the International Space Station. That's a big feat. Is she a ham? She's a ham. What she want to do? She wants to be an astronaut.
Yes.
She wants to be a science. She wants to be one of the science specialists on the space station. So that's a big deal. And if she can do it, anybody can do it. You can get a QSO card. If you like to still get those. You can get those from after making contact with the ISS. Through the NASA website, they have a deal where you can actually write down who you talk to, and you can actually. Okay, you can actually you could actually put your information in there, and it usually takes about 4 or 5 weeks before you get a card. But you can get a card that you can say, hey, I made contact with them. And they have some pretty neat cards. Sometimes they do it with the astronauts that you talk to. Sometimes they do it just showing the International Space Station. But you can get that. I would say that when you make contact with them, keep in mind that in this area, when I say Oklahoma City, Moore, Norman, you make it. You only have, they say total time is 10 minutes. You don't. It's 8 minutes from here, because you have what they refer to as a 30-degree angle west to east on either side, that you have a zone that you can actually make contact. Because of the way the terrain is here, you can only pick them up to at about 30 degrees from the horizon. And that's about 8 minutes. So when you make calls to them, your call sign, trying to call them, when you're talking with them, give them your name, give them your location. That way they can say, okay, they're here. That's what we're hearing from. Give them a signal report, let them know how they're sounding to you, because they'll tell you the same. Thank the astronaut for making the contact with you. And tell them 73s and have a safe trip. And you got about 8 minutes, but you gotta get that in. Because they're moving along. And before I ask if there's any questions, I want to show you. Bofang UB5R. They're about $25 now. This is a tape measure antenna. Project kit that was done a while back with the club. Simple to make. At the time, when we did these at the time before, they were about $10. They're a little higher now.
20.
They're 20 now. But hey, this little setup, all you gotta do, turn your radio on and set it where your top frequency is your uplink, bottom frequency is your downlink. You know where they're coming over, say they're coming southwest to northeast. Aim that antenna over there, and you start making your contact. NA1SS, NA1SS, N5AZQ. You may have to say it twice. And you start following them. And as you're talking with them, you just keep moving your antenna. Now, one thing you're gonna hear, and I'm gonna bring this up, it's kind of a technical issue, but I'm gonna try to explain it, that you're hearing them as they're coming over, they sound like they're a little off frequency. Well, they are. Because it's what we refer to, and some hands will understand this, some won't, is a Doppler shift. And a Doppler shift is basically where you're changing the angle of horizon and it goes up and then it comes down, back again. So what you do when you're setting your uplink frequency, and it's 144.49, 30 degrees here, figure 3.5 kilohertz change per angle. And you can just kind of figure it. If you're watching it on a clock, you figure it like at 10, noon, 2, 4. And you figure that, and if you want to put in the different frequencies that are slightly off from that, so it sounds clear and keep switching, you can do that if you want to stay right on it. You don't have to. I don't. But if you want to do that, you can set those frequencies in your radio so you're right on frequency with them, because it will change a little bit, and they know that. But you just follow them across the sky until you're done. And then you're done. Now, if you want to try again in 90 minutes, if they were, say this was Canada behind me and South America down here, and they just come over, and then at 90 minutes from now, 22-degree angle, they're gonna be over here. They're not gonna be right above me. So you could do that if you want to try to track them again. Some do, some don't. I do it one time, basically when they come over. I'm happy to make, contact with them. There's a lot of hams out there wanting to make contact that's in our area. So I like to get in and make a contact, and then somebody else will try to do it, like that might live down in Dibble. And they get a little better angle than I would, say, southeast Oklahoma City. But this simple setup, you can get one that's expensive antenna. They call it an arrow antenna. It's got 2 meter 440. It's got a grip handle. It's real nice. And I think the last I seen they were $140 something. If you want to get a real, expensive antenna, you don't have to. This will do it. Simple antenna, simple radio, simple 2 meter radio. You don't really need more than 5 watts, considering the height that they are. That's not a problem. You can use pretty much any HT radio. Make sure that you have the proper adapter to hook on. For your antenna hooked on, you have to put an adapter in there to get this cable hooked up, depending on what you put on there. Some put BNC, some put SMA, some put, whatever type of connector you have on your antenna. Couple of things.
Orientations and antenna make any difference?
No, I played with it by whether or not I actually did this way or this way, didn't make any difference. I tend to do it this way, I don't know why, it works. And then I just follow it like this all over. You can try it this way, but I've never had a problem doing it this way here. On that, that's a good question. When I mentioned the antennas, see if I can go back to. When I mentioned the antennas, they've got an antenna cluster up there of four antennas in one group. They have a big base that's mounted, and then they got an antenna at 4 different posts. 3 of the antennas are just standard 2-meter 440 antennas up there. One of them is actually, like I said, it's the new one. It's 8 foot long, vertical, for HF. They put that in now, but they don't. Like I said, they got cable run and it's running to the module, but they don't have any equipment yet. They took down one of the 2-meter 440s and they stuck the HF at that spot. But they do have antennas, pretty much on various modules around it. Now, one thing you'll note up here, like I said, you see the radio equipment mounted to the wall, and he's just using the microphone on that. I don't have a picture, couldn't find a picture of the one that was showing you where they have it attached to his arm. But, any questions?
Yeah.
Okay,
Does their repeater put out a voice or code item?
no. They never put that in yet. I would figure they'll eventually do that. They'll put it in, but they're going around the earth and they're using different call signs where they are around the earth. So I figured that's probably why they hadn't done it yet. They may just put something on there that just says it's the ISS. They can't really do NA1 SS because that's us. And they can't do the RS0 SS because that's Russia. So on that, for that repeater, so because they're traveling, every 90 minutes around the earth. So I figured that they'll eventually put something on there that says this and that.
That's pretty easy, you know, they're range.
Yeah.
You hear it right.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll hear it.
You'll hear it.
It'll be live. It'll be live.
Yeah.
Somebody will have it keyed up.
Any other questions on the space station? Like I said, it's not a hard thing to do. It's really easy to make contact with them. You just get comfortable, like I said, use your app on your phone and set it up to where it tones you. So when it tones, it's 5 minutes before they're right over you. And then that way you can, if nothing else, if first time you want to go out and just watch their moving across the sky, you go out and watch them fly over and you'll see how fast they're moving. And like I said, if you count it, you're only going to get about 8 minutes. And in a range, like I said, range like that. Yes?
You can also get them to text you. NASA will send you a text when it's coming over.
They will do that as well. If you want them to do that, you can set that up if you want a text from them. Since they come over quite frequently, the app works pretty good. I mean, you hear the tone, you go, okay, they're coming over. I don't have time right now to go out and do that. It only tones once. To let you know. It tones when it'll tone when it's in that range. And then I've also got one set up where it lets you know that it's 5 minutes from being directly over you. Any other questions?
The picture on the screen is Scott Miller, they're talking EDM, was a new ham, and he put that up as a vertical at his house. And he didn't know any better. He only had his license for 45 days. So he set that up and brand new ham. His first contact was an astronaut. out in the space.
That's cool. That is cool.
Yeah, it is. And he's like, what? What do you mean? I said, we got a bunch of hams that never done it before, and you do it as your first thing out of the box. That's another antenna you can use. It does not take much directionality, anymore. The story is back in the day, the 1975 day, the air, when the Russians and the US had the joint station up there, that all our hams locally had these super parabolic rotating polarity, left polarity stuff, and they couldn't hear squat. But somebody left their talkie on a chair, and the talkie started talking while they were adjusting the radios. So it's it's something you need to go do. I think it's really cool that Mark's done a bunch of these. And it'd be fun to go chase that down, but it doesn't take a bunch. This is w5nor.org/ISS. We'll get you there, and we'll put Mark's stuff with this as well.
Mark, how do you set up the tone?
The tone on your phone,
Yes,
it's just a beep. It just go beep.
how do you set it up there?
There's a setting in that app. Yeah, there's the 3 bars at the top. Click on that, go to the settings, and then go in and just activate that to where it has a feature on there. You just check it. It says for 5 minutes, and before it's over your current location, it will tone and let you know that. And you just have to turn on that feature. Yeah.
Select.
Select the times that you can do. I do it for 5 minutes. You, like he was showing on that one, you can do it 1 minute to like 30 minutes. I do it for 5 minutes because, if I'm gonna do it and I've got my gear and everything and that, most of mine I made at the house. I just stood out in my driveway and made contact. So it's not that, like I said, and from where I live, which is southeast Oklahoma City, the terrain that I have, I'm getting it at about 35-40 degrees angle. When I'm catching southwest and northeast, most of the time I catch them southwest and northeast. There is occasions I'll catch them west to east, but not very often. And I do get one from time to time from northwest to southeast. But it's not hard to, like I said, you follow the app, you can say, okay, I see which direction they're coming in from. I'll go out and be ready for that, for the angle. Any other questions? Yeah. Do what? Say? I can't hear you.
Wow.
You're not, well, here's the thing. You would know by your app that they're over you. I've never actually gone out, to be honest with you, I've never gone out and done it when it was cloudy. I don't really honestly expect you or not. I like to be able to see them when I'm trying to make contact.
They won't see you wave.
Aw.
Keep in mind they're, like I said, when you give your location, if it's clear, they're gonna see a shot like that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool that they can do that. But I generally have never tried it cloudy. All the contacts I made is when it was a clear night out there. Yes.
One way you guys can help is a lot of the schools do programs out of their STEM programs that will bring a bunch of kids together. Contact the ISS sometimes, like I did, we make arrangements to ask them to get all this done. And as it goes over, they'll talk to the kids. And you as a ham could help set that up because they don't have equipment.
Mark has before.
Yeah, we did that. Tecumseh High School did that during the pandemic, which made it difficult. But we had nine students that went through and did that same thing, and it was so cool.
Yeah, I did a phone call twice.
Yep.
Kids love it.
Yeah, well, the old parts really loved it. We were all going, "This is cool," and the kids are like, "Well, can't you just call them?" Kids. But yeah, that is great. We need to get somebody involved in that. But on the website K5THS, we did a thing a couple years ago. It was during height of the pandemic, but it's kind of weird seeing a huge auditorium with nobody in it. But it was fun.
Any other questions? Yeah.
On the voucher sheet you were talking about, like, well, be like 3.5 up, 3.5 up, and 3.5 down, 3.5 down.
Yes. Exactly, and you can program all those frequencies in ahead of time, and just stand there, and as you move to kind of visual, figure, 10, noon, 2, 4. And then as you do that, you can just hit your button on your radio and go to the next frequency that you've got it set up to do that. If you want to be precise and be right with them, you can do that. They know you're gonna be slightly off because you're tracking them across the sky. And that doesn't seem to bother them, and you hear them just fine. It's not like it's garbled or anything. You hear them fine, but you can tell it's just slightly off. And I've never done the Doppler shift. I just left it on the frequency and ran across, because I know I've got, like I said, I got that small window to talk on it. I don't want to be messing with the radio while I'm trying to talk with it.
Let me see if I understand this right. According to Mark, the other Mark over here, you could actually sit there and move with an omnidirectional direction. And all you have to do is vehicle at 3.5 up, 3.5 up, and 3.5 down, 3.5 down.
Exactly.
You don't have to have the direction.
Right. You can. I just like to do it with that out there where I'm actually watching it go by instead of doing it in the house.
If you're live over top, they're below 30.
I mean, if you were high on a ridge, like Mount Scott or something, you could probably get them closer to the horizon. But where we live down here, 30 degrees to 30 degrees is about reasonable. Any other questions?
We had, just for reference, we had, for this group, K5THS, we had about a 30-foot tower with 22 element beams that we were picking up from 12 degrees to 12 degrees. So if you just get up a little bit over the trees, if you really want to be gung ho, you can hear them coming in and you can hear them going out.
And did you say their output was 35 watt?
Do what?
What did you say their output was, 35 watt?
25.
25. High power.
Yeah, they're not using high power on the space station. They don't need it. They can do it with, as Ed would put it, they can do it with a half a watt. I mean, at the height they are and they're set up. Theirs is not the issue. Yours is the issue. And down here, since they can hear you as high as they are, 5 watts or 5 watts or less, it's not a big deal.
Probably a stupid question, but what about sunspots and sunbursts and stuff? I know we marketed something about that a couple months ago.
Yeah, so far, I haven't had any issues with it.
Only thing, if the noise floor is up, you'll take a better signal to get there. You're straight shot, so there's nothing. No
I mean,
problem.
when you're looking at them and they're straight over you, there's not much there to interfere. I mean,
Wait.
yeah, no, well, the sun's on the other side at that time. When
Well, may not necessarily.
well, I'm just saying,
11:30 tomorrow is the next run, 11:20 or something.
yeah.
Get your talkies out, listen.
Any more questions? Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, let's take a 5-minute break. So that means 10:17. That clock's not right.
Oh, no wonder. No wonder.